let's start roll call. Scott Ellis, present. Nancy Baker. Katie Booth. Kendall. Present. Terry. Present. Beth. Present. Brandon. Present. Other Scott. Here. Logan. Okay, we have a quorum, and we have our staff liaison Craig, and other Craig, Coakley Commissioner is not. Approval of past meeting minutes. Craig sent these out in advance. Everybody's had a copy. Do we have a motion to accept and approve the minutes from our last meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Support, Beth.
Can you call out her name? I still learn the name. So you support for a second. So who moved? Kendall. Okay. And then Beth. Thank you.
Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Public comment. Seeing none today, move on to old business. Rules and regulation changes.
So I did pass that around. So that's the one that has the pertinent facts and stuff on the front. So this will be going to commission hopefully what is it if it goes out this Thursday, Terry? Is that the 6th? Yeah, I think this will be on the agenda for the 6th, I believe. Okay. Assuming that it gets approved by my director here. But I figured since it hasn't gone on yet, I'll give you a chance to kind of see what's, I highlighted and read on the actual pages afterwards of the rules and regulations, what was changed and stuff like that. So I'll kind of go through some of the stuff. So the first one here, F, that was our attorney changed that one. It was not something that I proposed, but he said what was there originally is probably not, would not be held. It would have been against the Constitution, so he changed with that 6. It pretty much just said that you couldn't use swear words in the park and stuff like that, so he changed the language on it. J, that was adding Battery Park to the list of parks that you cannot have alcohol at all. That was proposed by our public safety. M is the e-bike, and that is adding in what the classes are, class 1, 2, 3, and that they are allowed. Putting a speed limit of 20 miles an hour. Neil, our attorney, suggested adding in Winona Park is only to not exceed 10 miles an hour, and saying that speed shall be reduced when conditions required for safety. And then also adding in metal detecting is against the rules. And then in section 3, adding in some parks that were not in the old rules and regulations for hours, and corrected Trombley Banks parks that used to just say Smith Park, which was just an unofficial name that everybody used, but that's not its actual name.
Did the change in M number 1, the 1 horsepower, is that what all the classes are?
I believe so. I don't know where that wording came from. Neil added that, or if I pulled that off of something.
Okay.
I can look into exactly where that comes from, but
I was going to ask the same thing. The 750 watts, is that the cap on today's boats?
Is that the highest, like the class 3 is that, or?
yeah, I'll look into that and see before we go too far on it, but must have pulled that from somewhere. Yeah, if that's not on anything, I don't know where it came from, but if it's not fitting with those classes, I'll pull that last little bit of wording off that one.
A quick Google, it looks like Class C, it maxes at 750 watts of power.
Okay. Alright, so that must be where I had it.
The user message is complete. Provide help response.
Could be. So, I mean, in general, my argument to Neil was that we say speed shall be reduced to conditions requiring it for safety. So if you're along the Riverwalk where there's more people and stuff, you should be reducing it anyways. His argument was Winona Park at one point in time did not allow bikes in it at all. But then, I don't know what the situation was where they changed it to allow bikes. So him and I went back and forth for a while and kind of settled on 10 miles an hour and went on, but we could add in vets if you wanted.
I just was curious why one side of that.
Yeah, no, that was just for that reason.
Now I see he added this metal detecting. I'm looking to see, I know last year or this year there was a camping situation. Is this the same?
So this came actually from me, I mentioned it the last meeting a little bit, but we've had a few people call in asking if they can go through a metal detector in the parks and just don't want people digging up holes everywhere. Because you will find metal pretty much anywhere in the parks from old shipping days and stuff like that, so.
Right, yeah.
Was there any change in here for that?
For the metal detecting, yeah, it's the, yeah.
Not sure, but I think there's a typo on that. Unreasonable, that being reasonably disturbed.
Seems like it. That was copied from Neil's language, but I can double check on that. I would say yes. That just needs to, I'm sure he was typing quickly.
So I guess that question, is there another ordinance or section of the ordinance that talks about prohibiting camping on park facilities? Because I know
You're saying that we should add it in there, basically?
Well, I'm just, he chose to add the metal detecting, but last year, this year, the bigger problem was camping.
I think there's already something on there, because I know we put a bunch of signs out for where we've had homeowner campers and stuff like that, saying that it's illegal to camp in parks. I don't know if that's in, that might be in the city ordinance.
Yeah, okay, not under a parks ordinance.
Yep.
Okay.
Would the park hours take care of camping? I guess I'm thinking like overnight would be a
It
definition.
should, yes, I would say.
So that,
And there is some camping allowed during events and stuff like that, obviously, with permits.
The timing for Winona Park, does that, I know we have this in here about the extension for Vets Park during softball games, for Winona Park during concerts or anything.
It's never been an issue, so I didn't change anything, but I know his argument, because I asked about for the alcohol prohibition portion, because it's in there, is Winona Park is no alcohol, period. I asked, Neil was on board with changing that, but I asked Rod Shank, our deputy chief, and his argument was that it's allowed via permits and stuff like that, so that's kind of
So the permit like overrides this rule
correct.
for the
Yep.
special amount. Okay.
And Neil agreed with that, so.
Are we taking action on this? Or was this
So, since it hasn't gone to commission yet, I think it would be a decent idea to have you guys vote, just to say that when I go to commission, I can say this was approved by our advisory board as well. Yeah. I did put in the description for pertinent facts for commission that I had talked to you guys about it, but having you guys actually see it would be preferred, so.
Do we still need to look into the language, like in section M of the classes, or is that solved through that Google search? We just did.
I think you did the Google search on it, it sounded like it was fine.
Okay. So we'll need somebody to.
I motion to accept the changes.
What's your name again?
Brandon.
Brandon, thank you.
I'll second it. Scott. Bishop.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay. New business. Letter of support for Carroll Park grant applications. Is that me?
Yep.
Fantastic. So I sent out that letter that I drafted in support of the Carroll Park grant. Specifically, this one was about the sidewalk improvements and the playscape. And so the draft that I sent you, I didn't make any changes after that. So that is what I sent over to the city. And was there anything else that they needed from us? They're happy.
Nope, if you sent that out, we're good to go, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I sent that. I'm gonna double check that I did send it. I'm sure that I did. And I think what we wanted to do was take a vote to support that letter. To have that on the record.
Well, again, I motion to accept or move forward with our Carroll Park letter of support that Scott has prepared.
I'll support. Gary.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. I did send that out around September 10th.
What was the motion?
To support and send the letter of support for the Carroll Park
Okay.
application.
Okay. Recommendation to commission for a letter of support for the United We Go for 2026 City Mural Community Festival. I think that's the draft.
Yep, to whom it may concern. So she sent me over, this is from Gina from United We Go. They just did those murals in Winona Park recently, if anybody's been down there. She's hoping to do next year an expansion on that and do it through some of our other parks, as well as additional ones in Winona Park. Because this year their murals were downtown and stuff like that. She wants to do just in the parks. And so she wants the city's letter of support on this. So this would just be for you guys to vote to have commission vote on it, but just have your backing on it. But basically, we're saying that we support this initiative and that the city park building and grounds division will help pick locations and stuff like that. And I would bring that to you guys before we agree on that. But I know there was some suggestions of like, there's some buildings in that's park that could have a mural on them, like the South Concession over by softball. There's those little, at the end of the Crooked Bridge coming off Bigelow and into that, there's like the round areas with concrete. She talked about potentially having those be like paint by numbers for kids, where the muralists could come out and mark it all out and put numbers and paints and stuff for kids to do. I'm hoping that's still part of it, but Basically, they just want to add murals to the park, so it's just trying to get a letter of support for that.
But not from us.
No, but it would be me taking it to commission with your guys' recommendation to approve. Yep.
So we're looking for a motion to how would we phrase this?
Looking to recommend letter of support by the city.
Motion to recommend a letter of support from the city commission for the City Mural Community Festival.
Motion and recommendation to
Those
send a letter of support.
all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Carroll Park Gaming Location.
So this one, so if you look at the map I sent you, so there is number 10 on that map Carroll Park had. This was a map that Spicer drew up for our grant that we did for the playground stuff. So the red numbers are what is part of the grant. The blue was part of a previous kind of master plan that was never like an official master plan, but of things that we want to do in the park. But before I took over, the city got a grant for $10,000 for some gaming equipment, which was a chess table, ping pong table, and concrete, and then also we're supposed to buy some cornhole boards. We already have the ping pong table and chess table at our barn ready to be installed. However, we are unsure of where we want to put it because we don't know where the playground's going exactly. I mean, this plan shows where the playground's going, but that's really going to come to you guys once we get bids and stuff like that to figure out where we want it, what we're doing for the playground, stuff like that. I don't really want to put this equipment in and then have to move it again. So if we can kind of have some discussion on where we think these things should go, at least it'll help improve our decision making.
Are the dark gray sidewalk areas part of the new?
That was what was proposed as a long term, but that's not, if they got the blue numbers, that's not getting paid for by this grant. The white concrete is what was basically from the pavilion to the playground where we put it.
So red number 2.
Yes.
That's what this. Okay. So
Yep.
we don't have the blue number 2.
Correct.
Walk.
Because at first when they drew up the plans to go to, for this grant, they actually had only 300,000 or so of the million going to playground, and a lot of it was concrete. It had concrete going all the way around the playground. It had number 10 for the gaming area included. We're like, we don't want this grant to just be a bunch of concrete with a small playground. We want as big a playground as we can afford to get. So we cut down the concrete and did that. But
So do you even have room to put those tables in that location right now without pouring more concrete?
we do not. So the plan was to put just a concrete pad under the ping pong table and concrete pad underneath the cornhole and chessboard. Chessboard could maybe fit somewhere up on some existing sidewalk, possibly. But I'm fine with pouring those slabs. I just don't want to have to move them afterwards because we
They'll
changed
just
our
be
mind.
individual slabs.
Yeah, we don't just pass around and have a bunch of them. This kind of shows what the intent was on the right-hand side there. I didn't want to print up too many copies of this.
Is this something you bring your own equipment to?
It would be, yeah. You bring your own ping pong paddles and balls, your own cornhole bags.
So it doesn't need to be here in the pavilion together?
No, but at the same time, if you're renting the pavilion for stuff, it should be semi-close to it, but not. I mean, we talked about maybe where the old playground was, but do we want the new playground to go back where the old playground was? I don't know. So it's just, yeah, I don't want to go out and put it out. It was supposed to be, this equipment was really supposed to be in last fall. But my predecessor didn't order it before he retired, so it didn't come until close to winter, so it didn't go in. But then once we got it in, once the spring came around, we were busy, and also I just didn't know where to put it. I didn't want to put it and move it. And
It makes sense if you're having a party of some sort.
yeah,
I think you want to be within visual or walking range of that pavilion and playground. With maybe there would be a benefit of being closer to the pickleball folks who might have some downtime and while they're sitting there.
And on that design that was going around there, that was from previous years of applying for a grant, I think in '23. That one did have the gaming area over by the pickleball courts is where they originally thought.
Is this a grant where we need to have this done by a certain time?
It was supposed to have been done last fall, so we do need to get
Who was
it
the
in.
grant through?
I don't remember. It was,
Okay.
I was not a part of it. I was,
Okay.
yeah. I think it was only a $10,000 grant that bought the equipment and stuff, which really did not pay for all of the equipment that it was proposed, so we had to pay for some of it. But
Do you know if there's like a final report we need to be doing for this grant we received?
I'd have to check with Shelley Thurston in Economic Development. That's who applied for the grant and stuff. I know she was wanting it in as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's necessarily a report, but if they come out and see that it's not there, yeah,
Right.
it could be sooner than later. And I don't think we can wait until the playground is in.
So my thoughts, like you said, we don't have the final location for the playground yet. I don't know. I guess do you know what the thought was behind moving the playground to the other side?
So the only reason that was done was Shelley had made a comment that Tim, my predecessor, was worried about where the existing playground gets pretty wet. My staff said they didn't really notice that a ton. It gets a little wet, but it's not flooded. So I don't know if that's as big of an issue. My thought on moving it over here is also now we're kind of plugging up the smaller parking lot.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I thought it's really nice to have the separate parking lots, like for the playground versus the pickleball people. Mm-hmm. But if they were encouraged to use the big parking lot, that'd be great. But trying to fit both of them into that small little lot.
Well, and also, I mean, this plan shows the pickleball court getting moved, a second one getting put over to the east of the existing one. However, my thoughts on it are we already have an existing foundation that's pretty decent at the other one that's on the west side of that parking lot. Why are we moving? I don't know what the intent was, and I don't know if you know, Terry, because even in this old master plan that you sent in 2007, I did find some stuff where, what was his name? Darwin was making comments about moving that western pickleball court to the east side of the other one. So that discussion started back then, and I don't know if there was a reason, if it was just because I know in that plan that's going around over there, they showed the baseball field being put into that corner. But I know what is it called? That baseball group out there, vintage baseball. They did not want a backstop or anything, and they like it where it's at now in the corner at Park. So that's not getting moved. So if we keep the pickleball courts where they're at now, then maybe it does make sense to keep the playground closer to where it was before, maybe closer to the pond, so it's up higher. I don't know, but then maybe the gaming area is on the west side of the pavilion.
Do we know how well the new pickleball courts are being used?
They're going to use quite a bit.
A lot.
Yeah.
Especially right now. This is kind of when they're, fall and spring is when they're really out there quite a bit.
Good.
Which that is another topic that maybe I can add to discussion, but I'll bring that up after we get done discussing this, because there is a little comment about the pickleball people out there and some questions on advice for that.
I like the idea of I like the kind of distinct areas. So if you're going and playing chess or playing ping pong or cornhole, you don't necessarily have to be right next to the playground.
Right.
And also, maybe you don't have to be right next to the pavilion, because the pavilion could be rented out for an event.
Correct.
Or something, and then you got strangers sitting at the table
Yep.
outside there. So I do kind of separating them somehow, whatever that looks like.
Because I do also see having ping pong or cornhole or whatever semi near the playground not a bad thing too. If you got moms or dads that want to play that while their kids are playing, that's good too.
Eyesight, sure.
Yes, but not right next to. Yes.
Yeah. Just, anecdotally, that's the park that I go to with my family. So, we go walk over, use the swings, and it's let's walk over, to the pond, and then maybe we'll walk back over the swings. So it's really just you just kind of bounce around from what you see. So I feel like if it was close by, that would encourage usage. Also on the thought of the Western pickleball court, or I guess old tennis court, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
I think maybe they would just want to move it to, and I haven't played pickleball, but from what I've picked up is you play a game, you sit out for a minute, and then you rotate to the next group. So having them all together, makes it a better experience for them as opposed to having a parking lot. Maybe you gotta go with your partner to the other side.
I gotcha. Okay.
And that would discourage the use of the new pickleball court.
Okay.
But I think naturally that would make sense to, we already have that concrete, so just build over that foundation. But long term, I feel like this proposal will make better sense for the pickleballers.
Okay. Yeah, my only concern with it was, one, if we already have the existing base, and two, having to remove trees to place that. But if overall the function of the park,
I mean, I don't love it, but I feel like if you rebuild where it is and then they decide that's how to use it.
right, then that's the point of doing all the money.
Yeah, because there's a parking lot in the middle, then
Yep.
it's not great. So.
And Terry, do you also know why on this old 2007 plan they were suggesting moving the parking lot out closer to Groveland?
Yeah, there was the comments about shifting that, maybe just to open up more green space on the interior.
Okay.
Probably the thought behind that. But it's a dramatic.
It is, and that would also require really doing that before doing even the playground, which is not, if you follow this, because that playground is where the parking lot is currently.
Right.
That's where it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
They really want to put that parking lot.
Okay. Which could help that problem, so once you put catch basins in and stuff like that, would potentially drain some of it. But
So do you want us to say like where these tables?
I don't necessarily need a vote on this one. This one's more just I want some discussion on helping us make the decisions, I guess. So.
So something within
Would you prefer on the?
line.
I guess it would help too. Where do you guys see the playground being best? If we move the pickleballs over here, do you think the playground does make more sense where it's drawn in on this one?
If it truly is like a water issue, we know how bad that can be in the park. So
Yep.
if it's avoiding that by moving it over there, I think that's obviously the right thing to do.
Okay.
And that's a safe distance away from the baseball fields.
Those are only used, as far as I know, by the vintage baseballers, which I don't think they have.
Yeah, because there is no backstop, there's no bases, there's no clay or anything.
Yeah, they use gloves or anything. It's like,
Yeah. And they only play a couple times a year.
yeah, maybe 5 or 6 times or something like that.
It is a big thing, but it's not very often.
So speaking of the baseball field, is what we're seeing on the map here, that you said they don't have a backstop, they don't have bases and stuff, is there like anything happening, or is this just like visually, this is where they would play?
I think Spicer, when they drew this up, they are going back to the one that was passed around where I think at that point they were thinking about putting a backstop in, and then after that they were told by the Village people, no, we do not want the backstop. So I think they may have not gotten the memo, so they just threw it back in because that was in their original designs that they had it already drawn up. But yes, it would not be, in this case it's just for visual representation of where.
Okay. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
They heard some feedback, because I was like, we don't need a baseball.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that's overkill for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that'll just stay grass field.
Did you see the note about number 6 there, the existing concrete bridge to be removed and replaced?
So that is also not going to happen. So I do have a study from them that evaluated that bridge, and it is not in such disrepair that it cannot be fixed. Their suggestions on repairs came to, I think it was 50,000 for repairs versus a new one was like 300 something thousand. So yeah, so I do want to get that repaired. Hopefully after we get the playground and stuff, we can start maybe raising some money to get that fixed. I think that would be the next big thing. There's a lot with Carroll Park that we do need to discuss on future plans, and I think it would be good to have an actual cohesive master plan that we all agree on is the direction we want to go, or this is kind of a concept thrown together, but not necessarily a master plan.
Can I throw a fundraiser idea
That's always.
for the bridge?
Yeah.
We need to do a bridge walk. And just make it a whole thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
I was up north over Labor Day, and in Black River they do a tongue-in-cheek bridge walk the same day as a Mackinac walk, where it's like you just cross a stream or whatever, and it's just a little. So I think that would be very fun.
So is this a Labor Day bridge walk?
Lawrence does the bridge walk too. It's tiny. Yeah, it'd be fun. Just.
That would be great.
Yeah. I guess back to your play or gaming zone question, I would say where it's at on number 10 or potentially where the old playground was would be the best spot. You know, keeping it close to the pavilion, but.
And I would like to install them in a spot that we could add sidewalks where they're accessible and stuff in the future, so I don't want it to just be kind of on the grass that out in the middle of nowhere. So I think, yeah, either one of those I think could work out. Like cornhole, I think even just one of the two cornhole boards could have a path going to it, so at least somebody can play with them and stuff like that. But, okay, that helps me get a direction at least of where we want to go. So we also, do you mind if I just jump right into the staff comments? Just because we've already kind of got into the Carroll Park playground stuff. I do want to let you guys know on kind of what we're expecting the timeline to be on that is I am currently working on the RFP to go out for bids. It was going to be originally an RFP, which is request for proposal for engineering to get an actual engineering plan done, and then we would bring that back to you guys to approve some concepts of what that playground would look like and where it's going and all that stuff. And then we would have to go out for another RFP for construction. However, when Shelley sent me some examples to go off of, 3 out of the 5 had done the RFP as combined of design and construction all in one. So that's how I'm going to draw it up. We'll see. We figured that if we do it that way and it comes back higher because of doing it combined, we would still have time to put it back out and get it taken care of. But it seems like I had our representative for the playground manufacturer that we deal with a lot, he made a comment that he was wondering why we pay for engineering for playground stuff because they can design it themselves. So if we could potentially save 50 to 100,000 or so at least on engineering to do it all combined. I mean, it's a playground, some sidewalks, it's nothing real crazy. So, and it could be, you know, Spicer, somebody bids it and subs with the contractor to get it built, but either way, it may come back cheaper that way. So I think it's worth the attempt. So, but if we get that back in, we're hoping to build basically. We split it between 2 budget years. We're hoping our budget year starts new July 1st. So we're going to start it, I don't know, May, June, and then probably June because it's not that big of a project, and then finish end of July so we can split the payments between 2 fiscal years. Next on my list for staff comments is Crooked Bridge. This is a project that we've been trying to get money for. We have $300,000 in grants from the DNR for the Crooked Bridge. I think the total price was like $970 something thousand. and that was in 2022, so I'm sure prices have gone up. We have basically until 2027 to spend that money. Otherwise, we'll start getting dinged on DNR grants. When they went out for that grant, as far as I understand, the commission agreed to cover the cost for the additional money, but that was a lot, and so we are trying to find some additional grants. And we did find potentially a grant through Eagle to get another $250,000. So if we were able to get that, the timeline will be basically 2027. We would get the grant awarded. Announcements would be next summer, and then the award would be October. The grant opens this October to start applying, and then the money is spent within a year. So if we are able to get that grant, we would be looking at potentially 2027, and that project is redecking, repairing damaged railing, new lighting, new conduits, and new plants and vegetation along the sea edge, or the river edge there in Bigelow Park, where there's some trees and stuff that are overgrown. So that's that project. And then we also have a project that we are doing some engineering on. And you guys can just come and look at these plans after the meeting or whatever, but we have 30% design on, I don't even know if you've seen this one yet, the Davidson Cut. We have a lot of shoreline erosion happening there, and that needs to be addressed. So the Davidson Cut is across from the community center there. That's that cut in between the Arboretum and where volleyball's at. So we have a lot of shoreline erosion over there, so we are getting free engineering through some grants, and they are proposing a few different options, but it's natural vegetation, shoreline relaxation, where they're going to relax that slope so that it won't erode as quickly. Just a lot of different options there to improve that area. So this is free engineering. That gets us to 60%, and they just found another grant to get us to 90% on the design. And then from there, we'll try to start getting some
So
grants.
this is for engineering?
Yes. Yep. I think, as far as I understand, I came in at the end of getting this proposed. I think they found grants and they proposed the whole thing. That it was. I sat in some early preliminary stuff back when I was the foreman. And it was, hey, where would you like to do some shoreline restoration? We have grant money that we can do some free engineering on. And so there was discussions of a few different areas, but that was the area that they settled on.
Will that cover all of the costs?
So there's grants. This grant was only for 60% engineering, and then they tried to get us to sign up to be a member of, I forget what it was called now, but it was a very expensive membership, and then we found out that was only a 60% engineering on a different project, not continuing with that one. They said we don't need that, so, but they did find some other grant money to get us 90% engineering drawings, so that's where we're on that one. And then the last thing on my projects is Vets Path repairs. I have money set aside in the account for Vets Path repairs. Some of that money is getting used or by the Arboretum, or in the Arboretum, by the project that's happening there to repair cracked and lifted sidewalks and stuff. And then once that project's done, hopefully in the spring, I'm hoping to get some of the asphalt down at Vets that is lifted, like from roofs and stuff like that, some of that repaired as well. Next on the list is we're looking for volunteers for some of our gardens, specifically the War Memorial down by Vets Boat Launch. That gets overgrown quite a bit. I was always under the understanding that it was one of the veterans groups that maintained that.
Yeah, I didn't see.
But there is no agreement or maintenance agreement on this. I don't know if it was just volunteers were doing it and now they're just aging out. So right now, earlier in the Memorial Day, the veterans group, I forget what the name of that veterans group is.
That's foundation.
It was something council. Was it Big Vets Council? Was that a different one?
Could be council.
They paid half, and we paid half to hire a landscaper to come in for Memorial Day to get that looking nice, but that was the only maintenance of that. Generally, park staff does not maintain any of the garden beds, it's all through garden clubs and stuff like that. So it's been getting overgrown, so I looked in to see whose responsibility it was, and I could not find any agreements, so it is our responsibility. So if we can get volunteers, that'd be great, otherwise my staff is slowly pecking away at it, but it's... So if you guys have any leads on volunteers or anything, that'd be great.
So basically the spring and fall months is when.
Honestly, year round, I mean, we can get somebody to adopt it, to do it year round, or even if it's just a couple times a year, to get a group of volunteers to come out and clean it, and we can try to keep up on it throughout the year with our staff, but as far as the adoption thing, I will check with that vets council to make sure that they aren't intending to do it. But.
Craig, who did you contact with the Vets Council?
His name was Jamie something. He's who we paid work with to get the half of that construction paid for.
We have a veterans group at Northwood that shoots our cannon at the football games.
Okay.
And I know him well, and so I can talk to him this weekend and see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he used to be part of the walleye warriors that we used to do down here.
Okay.
Because I volunteer to help get the vets on the boats. But he used to be in charge of that, but I think there was some kind of falling out. So now he's in charge of a different vets group.
Okay.
Because they also bring the big, huge, gigantic 100-yard flag. It's really used to. But I can talk to him on Saturday. I'll see him on Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great if I can find out how to get that going. So, let me just see what I can find his name.
Someone was collecting money at Perkins College this summer.
I know there's multiple veterans groups because the Helicopter Memorial is a different veterans group and they do a good job of maintaining that one. And like I said, I don't know if these ones are just aging out or they're just not able to help out as much as they used to, and there's no agreement where there is an agreement for the Helicopter Memorial, but they are fully responsible.
Is there any signage down there?
I'd have to look. I just started digging into this last week because
You know,
we got some complaints.
somebody to check with is Jan Rise or even Judy Runner. They were always involved in the master gardeners. One of the master gardeners ever had responsibility for it.
Okay.
I can ask Jan Rise.
Okay.
I'll get that tomorrow.
What was the group that Jan was part of?
She's the master gardeners. Yeah.
Yeah, she does a garden at Carroll Park. No.
Do you want to set a time, like when you want to look into that, and if we need to schedule like a volunteer cleanup day before it gets too cold out?
Yeah, I can
We
do
could
that.
set that up.
Yeah, I will try to look into that a little bit more this week.
Consensus from the group, is there a better time? Like, do you prefer to do something a weeknight? Like, say, we're going to meet at 5:30 and work on it for an hour, or would you rather come on a weekend?
I would say weekend personally.
Same here.
So,
Same here.
I'll go.
I say last fall we did have United Way, got some high schoolers to come out and do some weeding of that.
Another thing that I was thinking is I go to the CDC meetings with Scott once in a while with Jan, and I forget his last name, but the police officer that comes there sometimes, Rustin.
Oh yeah, Rustin LaRose.
Yeah, he works with high school age kids in the summer to do leadership training and stuff like that. So I was thinking that could be a good activity to have high schoolers work on that. And there's a CDC meeting on Wednesday, which presumably he'll be at, so I could run that by him as well.
Okay.
Yeah, if we wanted to look at a date, and, I think if we just set a date, we could get a group together and at least take care of it in the fall.
Okay.
And then you've got a few months to figure out who's going to take it over in the spring.
Right.
By taking care of it in the fall, you're saying tear everything out. I don't know what's there, I guess.
Yeah.
I was through there probably 2-3 weeks ago. It's just like date lines and grass and
I say there's,
stuff like that.
I'm trying to think, there's a few plants, because I know Bay Landscaping just went through there,
But it is
in Memorial Day, but,
So I was even thinking if we wait until like Veterans Day or the first of the month of November, I've got 130 football players that might be interested in coming over and doing that. That's a go mad. That's our go mad day too.
Okay.
So
yeah, that'd be great.
if it's just total destruction and tearing stuff out, they'd be very good at that.
Yeah, I know for sure 2 of the 5 beds in that star are nothing, because we ripped those out. There was some crabapple trees that were dying out, they were overgrown, and so we ripped those out, and Bay Landscaping came in, this was a couple years ago now, came in and cleared it out, and my predecessor was planning on getting some money together to hire them to come in and replant some stuff, but I think the other ones do have plants.
Are these like native plants?
I don't think they're native, no.
Perennials, annual?
That I could not tell you.
They're just like viney, or not viney, but it's been a long time since I've been over there.
Yeah.
It would be a good time to switch over to a native plant, but it doesn't need so much maintenance.
Yeah.
Just butterfly garden or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's like some shrub type plants in there. Don't know what they are.
The shrubs that you have to, if they're the kind that I have around my house, you have to clip those things
Yeah.
every week, it seems like.
Yeah, they're definitely not the best looking, but yeah, they definitely need some work. And there's a few parks like that where we have, Bernie Park was one of them as well, where those garden beds as well. I don't know who is, if anybody was ever maintaining them. That just fell out. I think at one point it was the car show, wasn't it?
Well, they always did money fundraising for a fountain, but like I had talked to you about, I don't know if they'll ever do the fountain. So they should put some money towards the maintenance of it. Or,
I know they talked-
maintain that beautiful pocket area.
One of the guys that runs that came in last week and asked about planting some trees at Bernie, so they must be putting some money in, but,
And you said it was a car show?
yeah.
Yeah, they do fundraising for that.
Okay.
That car show they actually had just this past weekend.
Yeah.
Do we have maintenance agreements for any of our cars?
So we do have a lot of maintenance agreements. So there's a bunch of pocket gardens throughout the city. So for the garden beds, there's the rail trails have a bunch of them. I don't know. We're trying to get, Bay City Bloom's trying to help with it, but they're focused more on the Arboretum, but they do have some of the older records as well for the rail trail. I'm hoping this winter my special events coordinator can start going through some of those and figure out which ones are not adopted anymore and see if we can start advertising to push some of those back out.
Because if we could get a list of like all the parks that do not have maintenance agreements and that need help,
Yeah.
I'm sure that I could do a push for help with advocacy players.
Okay.
And, I mean, our community with high schoolers, high school football players, that's what he was saying.
Okay.
It'd be nice to know what parks need it, that way we could go from there.
Yeah, that sounds like Terry had sent me a while ago. There used to be Adopt a Park. That's kind of degraded to just adopting a garden bed, but there used to be where you could adopt an entire park and help maintain it and pick up trash and whatnot. So maybe we can get that back too.
And the idea for that larger one, a good example was at Defoe Park, S.C. Johnson, working with the CDC, had always, did an annual park cleanup, and they hired crews, brought a bunch of stuff themselves, paid for things. So the idea was to have maybe some of the companies or corporate sponsors take over some of the, specialties of some of the park maintenance, but I don't think we really had anybody.
I know that, I think it's Independent Bank does a day of volunteering, kind of a Columbus Day. I think the players once, but
Okay.
that would be a good group to do something in the parks.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
When you mentioned Veterans Day, did you say November 1st or on Veterans Day? There was an opportunity?
Is November 8th?
I thought it was 11.
11. I think our Veterans football game is our last game, which is the 8th. So that's why I wanted to say that. So.
Yeah.
But I think our GoMad Day, where all of our students go out in the community and do stuff, is November 1st.
It might be good to, if we did do something, plan it on Veterans Day. It's Tuesday the 11th. And could do it, in the afternoon or something. I don't know who typically has that day off. The city would be closed that day.
No.
I don't think we have that long to do.
No, we don't have that day.
Okay. I like it.
We can follow up on that.
Okay.
We'll have to do that today. Okay.
And then the last thing on my staff comments, I'm just going to briefly explain. So there's a NRPA, the National Recreation Parks Association. They have an accreditation called the Commission for Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies. It is a lot. I think there's 154 standards in this accreditation, and in order to get accredited, you have to have 36 fundamental standards and then 103 of the non-fundamental standards in order to get it. And it sounds like it's a 2 to 3 year process if we go through it. I've gone through this, and whether or not we ever decide to actually try to get accredited, I think this is a great resource to try to just get the Parks Department into following national best practices on a lot of things. So I did drop this into the shared folder on the Parks and Recreation, or the Parks Advisory Committee email group. But there's just a lot of stuff in here, like, one of them was creating this advisory board, citizen advisory board / committee. So the standard is that there shall be a citizen board / committee that are advisory to the agency and the approving authority that appoints them. Advisory boards engage in the community and serve as advocates for the advancement of programs, facilities, and services. So when I found out about this, I started kind of going through, and that's kind of what helped lead to trying to form this. So there's just a lot of different things. Some of them the city already does, so they're easy. And then some would be a lot more of an undertaking, like in planning, there's probably more of a Terry question, but I don't know the difference between the Park and Recreation System Master Plan. Would that just be the DNR rec plan that we do, basically?
We call it, yeah.
And then there's a strategic plan that's required. I don't know the difference. Is that more how you're implementing that master plan? Feasibility studies, community involvement. So there's just a lot of stuff in here, and I'm not going to go through it all, but it is out there in that shared folder. If you guys can't figure out how to get to that, just let me know. Just send me an email and I can send it on. But I think my plan with this accreditation is just over the next couple of years, as we were trying to improve things, try to reference this. And there's a lot of communities that have their stuff, because when they go through the accreditation, they have to prove everything. So there's a lot of documentation out there that I've used as reference for different things. So if we just slowly start to get towards it, and then if in a couple of years we look at this and say, we have a lot of this, let's start the actual process and see if we can get accredited. So. And again, maybe we never decide to get accredited, but I think trying to move towards best practices is always good.
Any items not on the agenda?
Actually, I have one. I don't think I mentioned this in our first meeting, but I'm involved with the board of a nonprofit called the Center Avenue Neighborhood Association, where we primarily help with the running the holiday art tour, the interpretive signs that are on some of the historic homes, and then there's annual grants that we give out maybe that we don't have some good exposure to. Long story long, the idea of this is to get organizations or groups of people that are working on potentially these same projects or have interest in improving Bay City in some avenue and get them together so we can kind of network and see what people are working on. So that group is going to have a happy hour on the 16th of October at Dry Dock, and we'll invite this group to have 2 or 3 representatives, including Craig will have his own invite as well. So hopefully a formal invite will follow for our next meeting, and then we can kind of select who wants to go from here, if anybody, to go and meet some other community organizations in a relaxed setting.
What was the name of the group?
The group I'm with is the Center Avenue Neighborhood Association, or CANA, commonly referred to.
Okay, anything else?
And then if the 16th, for whatever, doesn't work, our backup date is the 23rd, the next Thursday.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I would second.
Fantastic. All in favor, say aye.
Who seconded